Hi, it's Will from stormthecastle.com, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to make a terrarium for kids. It's a really fun project and it's not that hard. And I'm going to cover a lot of bases here. Although this is a short tutorial, I'm going to cover a lot of bases, and there are 6 major points that I'm going to make. I'm going to show you the items you need to make a terrarium. I'm going to talk a little bit about container selection. Then I'll talk about plant selection, what plants you can use, and I'll give you some different alternatives. And then I'll show you how to make the terrarium, and then how a child can care for it and maintain it. And then I'll talk a little bit about terrariums as a learning tool, predominantly because they're miniature ecosystems. So let me go over this. I have here the basic materials to make myself a terrarium. I've got a container, some pebbles or small rocks, of course some soil, some plants, and some Spanish moss. So you can use sphagnum moss if you want, which works just as well. So those are the basic materials. I also have a couple of tools, some scissors to prune down the roots of the plants if you buy the plants like this. And a little tool, this is a little tool I made out of a coat hanger for reaching inside there and manipulating a little bit. Oh, and of course, you also may want to have some little toys or little things you can either put inside or put outside the bottle just to make it a little more attractive for the kids. So those are the items you need. You can do without the Spanish moss or the sphagnum moss. It's not really necessary, but it does help in drainage and keeping your terrarium clean. You can also add activated charcoal to your terrarium, and that will purify the water as it cycles inside the dish. So let me talk about containers. One of the best containers for a terrarium for kids is this right here. This is a candy jar or a cookie jar with a little side cover lid like this. I really like this because it's easy for a child to reach inside and work on it, or to trim the plants, or to work on the different things. It's really convenient. And I recommend, if you do get one like this, you get one not with a glass lid. Get a metal lid or a wooden lid or a plastic lid. It's just a little bit safer. If you can't get a jar like that, you might want to consider something like this. This is a nice jar I picked up at Walmart, and it's actually plastic. It looks like glass, but it's plastic. That's really nice. So the fundamental criteria that you're looking for when you want to get a terrarium for a child is you want it to be a reasonably good size. You want it to have a big opening so they can reach their hands in and out there. And you want it to have some kind of a cover so it can be a closed system. If you can get plastic, that's best. But glass like this, and based on your judgment, this is glass. But as a minimum, don't get a glass cover, because this will be coming on and off, and it's prone to breaking. So this is about, I believe this is between 1.5 and 2 gallons, which is a really nice size. And you can see I got some plants in there. It looks really good. Okay, plant selection. I have here, this is your first choice for a terrarium for kids, I would say, would be to use cacti or succulents. They're very hardy. They don't need a whole lot of watering. They're very durable in varying sunlight. So you might want to pick up some cacti, which I did. I got these at a home improvement store. You can get them in a nursery or something like that. They're very hardy, so it'll give a long life to the terrarium. You can also use any kind of a selection of normal plants, flowering plants and stuff like that. They'll be less hardy, but just try to pick a variety of shapes and sizes. Like you see, I have this one here is tall, this one is a little bit shorter, and this is in the mid-range. These are in the mid-range. So look for different sizes, and if you can, I don't have any very colored here, but look for varied colors too. But plants, flowers and stuff like that, try to pick some that are going to be small, that grow small, say less than 6 inches, because you don't want this to, your terrarium could very well fill up with plants and it wouldn't look too good. A third alternative, you have cacti, succulents, you have a normal set of plants, but a third alternative is you could take the child out for a walk in a park or something like that and just dig up some plants and give them a try. And I recommend that method. That's kind of fun. It doesn't cost anything. And see what happens, Bring some containers, dig up the roots of the plant, put them in your container, and then bring them home and then try them in your terrarium. And when you're doing that, try to get all plants from about the same approximate area. It could be a shady area, a grassy area, a forested area. But that way they're living in this same ecosystem. So when they're in the terrarium, they're going to be in an ecosystem, so you want plants that are all pretty much have the same requirements as far as sunlight and watering goes. So try to find plants in the same area, within the same few square yards of each other. Okay, let me talk a little bit now about making the terrarium. It's real simple. What you do is you put about 1 inch of pebbles or small stones in the bottom of the dish, and this is for good drainage. If you have activated charcoal, you put about a ½ inch layer on top of that, and what that does is it filters the water as it passes through. Now on top of that charcoal or the pebbles, you put about a ½ inch to 1 inch, think of it like a blanket of Spanish moss or sphagnum moss. What that does is prevents the soil from falling down into the stones and getting all muddy in the bottom here. So it's kind of like a protective layer. It allows moisture to pass through, and but it won't allow the soil to fall down and to get all muddy in the bottom of the thing here. And I have a layer of sphagnum moss in here. Excuse me, Spanish moss. Then you put 1 inch or 2, maybe 3 inches of soil. Just put it right in there nice. And then you put in your plants. Then you water it and you're just about done. I suggest that what you do is, before you actually put the plants in there, you arrange them on a table in ways that look pleasing. So usually odd numbers work well, 3 plants or 5 plants, something like that. Move them around, see what looks like a good arrangement of them, and then copy that arrangement into your terrarium. That's always a good bet. Now, care and maintenance is the next step. If the terrarium's going well, there's going to be very little care or maintenance to do with it. Water it initially, and then keep an eye on it. If water droplets start to form like they have on this one, it's a good sign that there's enough moisture in there, that the water will evaporate, and then precipitate back down on the plants. If the soil starts to get dry, that's okay with cacti and succulents. You can let it get a little dry, just add a little bit of water. If you're using other types of plants, water it. If it seems to be overwatered, it's getting soggy, or the soil is just too wet, you just take the cover off and leave it in a sunny spot for a couple of days where it's going to get some sunlight and let the water evaporate out of it. So you can manipulate the amount of water in there just by using the cover. Takes a little practice to take a look at that, but you'll get it. And maintenance, over time, you can get in there with your tools, with a little pair of scissors, or with your tools, and manipulate and trim those plants, which is kind of nice over a period of time. Now, I have on my website, on the page for Terrariums for Kids, in my terrarium section, I have a nice sheet that's a learning sheet all about terrariums and ecosystems, and explains a little bit about how all the different things in here, including the water, the plants, the microorganisms in the soil, all act as a mini system that's interrelated. And I also have a diagram that shows you how the water is evaporated up in the container and then precipitates back down, simulates rain. So it's a miniature ecosystem, and it's a really nice learning tool that you can teach children. So that's pretty much the whole setup for making a terrarium for kids and the guidelines. I say, be creative, use whatever materials you have some fun with it. If you have a cookie jar, you don't, or whatever, just have some fun with it.